Greetings Guardians, my name is Byfear. So, today is the first of 3 videos where I'm covering some of the bigger Lightfall questions and key things leading into Final Shape, and in particular we're going to be talking about the Darkness, the Pyramids, and the Veil. And this first video is a bit of an odd sort of tangent off of that leads us to a relevant place. So yeah, a strange one, but we're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be talking about the Avalon Exotic mission today. For those of you that don't want spoilers, by the way, I would recommend going and getting the final secret chest, and really all the secret chests in Avalon, as soon as possible, before you watch the rest of this video. Tomorrow's video, if I can write it all in time, which may end up being the video for the day after tomorrow, is actually going to be a massive compilation of theory and findings that will help us all understand the nature of the Veil a little better. That video is going to literally be my What is the Veil video, but even after that's been made, we will, needless to say, have more learnings about it, as it is Lightfall's biggest mystery, and, well, Bungie has made it very clear that we're going to get a quest talking about this in Season of the Deep. Today, though, we should really start with the key findings from the Avalon Node. For those of you who don't know, the Avalon Node is a quest which pertains to the warlock Asher Mir. Asher's exploration of the Pyramidion and his rivalry with the Vex-Mind Brachion are probably topics that most of you will know at least a little about at this point, if not because of the OG strike, then because of the fact that you've done the exotic mission. Avalon isn't just a reminder of that great beef between Asher and Brachion, though. It's a gateway into Asher's greater story since the Season of Arrivals, and it hints at solutions to the greater problems facing us in the main story. Today we're going to talk briefly about what Asher's actually been doing in the Vex network and what he discovered. If you run through the Avalon mission for a second time on one of the subsequent weeks, and bring the Vexcalibur with you, then you're going to be able to unlock a variety of secrets. Vexcalibur in this regard is the key to the knowledge that Asher was holding, but its ability to provide us with greater access is what drives us to that discovery. When you raise Vexcalibur's shield, you can pass through the barriers of the Vex within the Avalon node, and you can use fire mode in order to actually break certain unbreakable Vex data nodes. When you do either of these things, you can gain access to various oddities that Asher was clearly studying. Asher doesn't always give us notes on what's going on here, but it appears that Mithrax is able to at least extrapolate a little data from what's going on bit by bit, and as it stands, there are 3 moments at which this happens. Asher doesn't always give us a clear indication as to why he chose the Avalon node to surface in, or what even happens in the Avalon node, but what seems clear from observation is that the Avalon node is where aberrant Vex go to be studied, purged, and to die. This isn't universally the case, but if you observe the Vex in proximity of many of the secrets, you'll discover that they're often malfunctioning. They either are obviously defunct and are just platforms that fray constantly with electricity, or they'll be non-hostile to us as Guardians. These aberrant programs within the Vex network are a part of what we're exploring today, and they appear frequently alongside the 7 secrets that you can find throughout the Avalon node. However, again, there are only 3 moments where Mithrax gives us a little extra dialogue and context, and those 3 moments are the ones that I really want to focus on. Really briefly though, it's worth remembering what the Vex would see as aberrant about frames that are either broken or friendly to us. Remember that the Vex consistently seek a pattern where they will be the victors at the end of the universe. Things that do not apply to this pattern are erased and thrown away, or alternatively are converted in such a means that they will follow the pattern. This is why the Avalon node is once again such an extraordinary and interesting place, because it ultimately implies that this is where many of the failures of the Vex will go, and this was of key import to Asher's research for reasons that may become clear in a moment. So let's just go through each of those different moments where we've got dialogue that gives us a little bit more context. The first of those moments is near the beginning of the mission, where we have this aberrant Vex behind a wall of data known as Specimen Mu, which you can find as the second secret within the mission.
fragment of data here, sent from a Vex Pyramidion. The Vex encounter a variable whose behavior intrigues them. It cannot be simulated or predicted. Its actions are, at times, fiercely irrational. The variable draws close. It becomes part of the equation. It demands quadratic reciprocity. And then, there is only Vex. The variable is no more.
I think the most important part of that dialogue that Mithrax just displayed with us is the bit where he states that the variable here is unpredictable. You may have already pieced together why that's important, but to clue everyone in, the other thing that can't be predicted by the Vex are paracausal forces. Only Panoptes of the Infinite Forest came close, and we destroyed it before it could doom us all eternally. Vex themselves are all bound to that fairly uniform pattern that I was suggesting, the one which talks about, well, how the Vex are able to survive in the ultimate endgame of the universe. And anything that doesn't work continuously towards that program, anything that would be violently irrational, fiercely irrational even, well, they would get deleted. And so maybe it's worth Ashamir's time studying, because this would have allowed him to understand how Vex simulations work, and what might allow him to better understand things which could not easily be simulated by those Vex protocols. Specimen Mu may have been a part of Ashamir's key understandings of how the Vex operate, and it may have helped to reinforce theory that underpins some of the later things we discovered. This, I think, is especially important, and you can understand why when you get to the third and second bits of dialogue in this mission. The second secret piece of dialogue, I believe, is actually recovered when you get the fifth or maybe sixth secret chest, and it contains a lot more information on what Asher was doing here. Take a listen.
Mass of encrypted data, hidden away by the signal. I will try to make sense of it. These appear to be notes, compiled after countless simulations, hypothesizing on the true nature of the pyramids. This is a schematic for a receiver that could override a Vex Harpy. And here are personal messages, letters composed but unable to be sent. There are names here. Yours is among them. I see Gallant and Mystic. They must be Ikora and Eris. But who is Vuvuzela? The signal abruptly revoked my access. How regrettable.
So here, the Avalon node's secrets are starting to be laid bare. Every single one of these first 3 sentences in this bit of dialogue tells us something different. First of all, we have notes holding simulation data on the nature of the pyramids. This is Ashamir's true purpose within the Pyramidion and within the Vex network generally. He has been trying to discern things about them by using the Vex to manually simulate them. Whilst the Vex cannot predict the pyramids accurately, they can run simulations on them, and this is a way of saying that the big problem for the Vex is there's no way of guaranteeing that these simulations are accurate. Ashamir, however, has a different perspective from the Vex and has a degree of paracausal power that gives him the ability to make more use out of these simulations. Not to mention, it's probably the case that his expertise having run tests on the pyramids on Io means that he's able to at least get a little bit more out of all the data that the Vex have been gathering. Thus, he's been working to use the incredible computational power of the Vex to further our cause. The second sentence tells us about how Asher was trying to reach out to us again, via the use of a Vex Harpy that he'd overridden. He has been using the receiver mentioned in the notes as a means of overriding a Vex Harpy with the clear intent of contacting us, as he did outside the Avalon node the first time we found it on Earth, as he did on Earth during the finale of the Season of the Splicer, and as he potentially might have done on Europa. Not all of you will remember or know this, but there's a patrol activity that you can do in the Asterian Abyss, and that will lead you into the Vex structure that spills out into the Glassway. Ultimately, this leads you to a blue-eyed Harpy, who will have you test your abilities of either darkness, as indicated by the prevalence of pyramid splinters in the area, or light, as indicated by luminous trees. With the exception of the original blue-eyed harpy on Nessus that contained the last vestiges of the commander of the Exodus Black, maybe it's the case that every blue-eyed harpy we've seen in Destiny since has been Asher Mir. Finally, we can hear about letters to various figures, including us. This is a direct reference to Asher Conclusion, which is some lore from the Season of Arrivals. This is a moment at which we have left him on Io, and it's just before he brings the Radiolarian Lake down upon himself. He contemplates writing us a letter to tell us about how satisfactory our service as his assistant has been. In the end, Asher didn't send or even write these letters though, because he realized that there were others more deserving of his praise, and that if he went in descending order of priority, he'd never get to us in time, thus defeating the point of the exercise. I suppose being stuck in the Vex network has given him time to write those letters after all. The final secret, however, is only discovered after you defeat Brachion. It opens up a portal at the end of a mission, and it takes you to a separate portion of the Avalon node listed under Scribe. This is where Asher Mir has potentially been residing. More importantly, it's where he holds the culmination of his many simulations of the pyramids. Here, he holds a key that provides clarification, revelation, and questions in equal measure. Take a look. This is where the story really begins.
What is this? Asher Mir's research confirmed the existence of this fantastic object. As the pyramids examined the Vex in turn observed the pyramids, and Asher Mir studied both. But the paracausal cannot be predicted. Did Asher Mir perform these simulations manually? For one mortal intelligence to create this would be impossible. This is why Asher Mir merged with the Vex. This study demanded its sacrifice. Everything. We must not forget what we have been shown.
Yes, for those of you that might have seen the concept art and various bits of footage on Twitter, that is indeed the Veil. The Veil being here and its existence being confirmed by Asher's study of the many pyramid simulations means that Asher may well have uncovered its relation to the plans of the Witness. Asher has been simulating the pyramids with the intent of breaking down their plans and discovering their intent for some time now, and it has led him to the confirmation of the Veil's existence here in the Avalon node. Not here literally, of course the Veil is on Neptune, but the data can be found here. And that likely means that Asher not only knows what the Veil is, but what the Witness was going to use it for. So with all of that, it becomes even more critically clear that we must do everything in our power to recover Asher and his research from the Avalon node. It's not clear if we can even do that, but Mithrax at the end of the mission insists that we should try, so perhaps as time goes on, the Avalon node will evolve further, and we might even be able to recover Asher Mir in one final desperate gambit. In the meantime though, watch the Avalon node. It is something which will be of crucial importance if it does continue to evolve, and it will begin to tell us maybe how we can rescue Asher. If it doesn't, then maybe it will start to at very least hint at the deeper nature of the Veil itself. In the meantime though, watch the Avalon node. If it does continue to evolve and there's a chance that we rescue Asher Mir, we should sit there and be ready for that. But even if it doesn't evolve in that direction, maybe it begins to tell us more about the Veil directly. Regardless, in my next video, I will be discussing the nature of the Veil in greater depth. So, stick around for that. It's time that we started to lift the mystery out of the shadows and into the light. All of that being said though, you know the typical stuff. Your viewership as always is quite enough for me, and if you have any more thoughts of your own, leave them down below in the comments section, and of course if you want more Destiny content, hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications. As per usual though, my name is Byf. For Audacia ad Astra. I'll see you, Starside.